Welcome to the Rebel Rise podcast, a place where values-driven founders on a mission for more come to connect, learn, and grow. Here, we celebrate the relentless spirit of leaders building businesses that create real good for their clients, communities, and the world. No subject is off limits, and every episode is designed to bring you clear strategy, steady leadership, and people-first operations you can actually sustain. Get ready to grow ethically, lead well, and build something that works without burning you out. Your impact journey begins right here. Let's go. Known for helping attorneys and professionals become best-selling authors and get positioned as experts in their practice area, Melanie Herschorn wants to help you step into the spotlight as an authority. As a publisher and a book marketing strategist, she's on a mission to empower new authors to make an impact and to grow income with their signature book. With her comprehensive background of over 20 years as a celebrity publicist, award-winning journalist in radio, print, and TV, as well as a clothing designer and entrepreneur, Melanie is uniquely positioned to support authors to step into thought leadership and to make a big impact with their book. She's earned a master's degree in journalism from the University of Southern California, where she graduated first in her class. Melanie grew up in Canada and has lived on both United States coasts and now resides in Arizona with her husband, daughter, son, her dog Marty, and her cat Phoebe. Her award-winning book, Make a Big Impact with Your Book, and Lasting Legal Impact are available now. Okay, Melanie, welcome to Rebel Rise. I am so excited to have you here. You've got so much experience that I cannot wait to dive in with everybody, but I just wanted to start by saying welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to see your beautiful face.
I know, you too. This has been a long time coming. I know I've been wanting to get you on for forever. So I'm so glad that our schedules finally lined up and things finally worked out so that we could dive in today, because I know you have a wealth of information to share with everybody. And so where I would love for us to start, because I've already shared your expertise with our audience, and you have such an incredible myriad of things that you have done in your life, and they all relate at the same time, which is so beautiful. But I want to kind of have you start with some of your background there, but really how it's brought you into doing what you do today with publishing.
Thank you. That makes me feel so humbled, really. Because, when you're looking back at your own life, you're kind of like, oh, I guess I did do that.
Relatable.
Yeah. So the thing about me is that I love to help people feel good about themselves, because I think there's a dearth of that in the world. And one of the best ways that I've found to do that is to have people share their stories. And the first time that I got so excited about sharing people's stories was when I started working in Hollywood in PR back when I was a baby, a 22-year-old baby. And I loved being able to write a press release and, say, this is what this person is doing and you need to publicize it. Then when I became a journalist, it was even more poignant, because I got to tell stories of people whose stories weren't getting told. They couldn't afford a big Hollywood publicist. I went to a bereavement camp for children who'd lost a parent or a sibling, and they got to go for a whole weekend, all expenses paid, to this camp. And I got to go and interview the kids and cover the story, and then get that camp on the radio, get that camp some coverage. And that, to tell you that was one of the most fulfilling things that I had done in my life up until that point, when I was a baby 31-year-old. It's really about telling stories. And so now I get to literally do it, literally help people tell their stories in a book. and then moving on to build that authority. And so that's that's really what my whole mission is.
That's so beautiful. And I love that it really illustrates that it's all a culmination of everything leading you up until this point. So, you being an expert in the publishing space and helping these people get their ideas out and really turn this into a tool of impact for others, what do you see happen the most in that process? Because in this entrepreneur space, especially with coaching and consulting, everybody wants to write a book. So I'm curious, first, what do they get stuck on most often that maybe you could guide people on? But also, how often do you see people coming in to write books when maybe they even have no business writing a book yet? Like maybe they're just not quite fully baked yet for that, if that makes sense.
Isn't that the irony? Those who aren't fully baked are the ones who are going to just jump right in. And the
Yeah.
ones who've been doing it for so long, they get that imposter syndrome. Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the second one, the who am I? So people get stuck on the who am I to write a book? Why would somebody want to read my book? There are already books on the topic. And so to that, I say, if somebody's interested in a topic, do they buy just one book on it and that's it? They read that one book. They're like, all right, I'm a genius in this topic. Now I'm done.
Right.
No, there wouldn't be a whole self-help section if people only needed one book. So that's where people get stuck. They're like, how is my message different? And the answer is you are different. You're unique. So of course your message is different and you deserve to add your voice to the conversation. And then there's the part where people get stuck actually writing the book. They're like, "Oh, do I have to add this into my schedule?" Which is why what we do, shameless plug, I interview my clients and pull the book right out of them and turn that into a manuscript. So there's no actual writing involved to make it easier. The other place people get stuck is on they have all these ideas. They're like, well, should my book be about this or this? How about all of these things? And so one of the things I love to do is help people narrow it down and go, okay, so that's a book or that's not a book. And then the other question you asked was about, people who are coming in and they're writing books and maybe they shouldn't be writing books yet. That that could go both ways. So if you want to write a book, but you're not totally an expert in it, I think during the writing process, you're going to figure that out.
Fair. Yeah. Interesting. And so I know somebody right now who is writing a book and she's fairly new into like the coaching and entrepreneurial space, and but this has been her goal for a long time. She wants to write a book, and she was just sharing with me the other day. She's just very much diving into expanding on all the topics that she already knows. And so she's also like teaching and coaching herself in the process, which I also think is very beautiful. And so I think in a way, and you can confirm this, like becoming a reporter of something that you're writing too, because that's sort of what she's doing. Like there is some expertise and then some reporter that's going into this, but I think you could still probably also then write a really strong book in that way. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. It's the only time I would caution it is if you really, you're writing a book about how to fix toilets and you've never fixed a toilet before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Never even so much as looked up a YouTube video on how to fix the toilet.
Right. That's when I would not do that. But it sounds like she does have experience and that she's learning in the process. So just like you said, she's learning and interviewing. And so that could be a really great book to read because if she's getting a variety of voices, a variety of angles and putting them together, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And do you get a lot of people like that? I know you work with a lot of like lawyers and people who have a lot of expertise. So I'm curious, do you work with a lot of people at a beginner level?
I do, but there's always the price point that can hinder people, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not for everybody. But anybody can write a book. There is no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a beautiful thing. I know you didn't ask that, but I'm just going to share.
Yeah.
You know,
No, please
it
do.
used to be if you don't have an agent and the one of the big publishers in New York doesn't want to publish your book, then you couldn't publish your book. And now you can. You can go on Amazon all by yourself and upload it.
Yeah.
And that I love. I love that for people.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. But it also makes me want to ask, just because it is your zone of genius, because I've seen that as a strategy with a lot of people who self-publish. They put their, you already know what I'm going to say. They put their book on Amazon and then they, sell it for 50 cents or 99 cents in order to push it to a bestseller list. And then they increase the price as a bestseller. So how do you feel about that strategy?
I think that's great. It's marketing, it's legitimate.
Mhm.
It's, you know, it's not a marketing strategy all by itself. It's not going to move the needle necessarily, but when you get your expertise into the hands of somebody that you can help, I'm all for that. Absolutely. And yeah, it is kind of gaming the system, but we all do it.
That's
So
true.
until it changes, why not? Why not? If you can't beat them, might as well join them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And with the people that I know who are writing books, like I said, there are a couple, they do live in their head, kind of like you mentioned. And I think that in itself is a really, really interesting process. And it actually doesn't seem to really matter where you're at because it's easy. I had somebody just ask me the other day, when are you going to write your book? Because I've got the podcast and I've got multiple businesses, and it's something I would like to do at some point, and hopefully you and I will work together on that when I get there. But that's the thing for me, is if, and maybe that's where I'm getting in my head, is like when I get there, because to me, I'm like, I still have a lot that I would like to accomplish first before I feel like, I don't even want to say ready to write a book, but before I feel like the story would be complete enough to write a book. Like there's still some things that I want to accomplish first before just kind of throwing that into my value ladder.
That is a fair assessment. I will push back though, because you don't have to
Me
just
too.
write one book in your lifetime.
That's true.
And it doesn't have to be a memoir.
Yeah.
So you could write a book. Well, you could write several books. You could write a book about coaching and consulting. You could write a book about how to create a successful business for mobile bars, which could then go even further expanding because it isn't just about the mobile bar. It is about the fact that Benefit Bar is totally eco-friendly, how to build an eco-friendly business. Benefit Bar, you like how I know all this stuff about you and I like to
Yeah.
pitch you to your own
Yeah.
listeners. Um,
Can't tell we're friends at all.
so Benefit Bar is also so we talked about a mobile business in general, how to create a business that works for you. You've been
Mhm.
an entrepreneur. I mean, you're a baby entrepreneur still, in that you're still very
I
young.
am.
I know how old you are. I'm not going to say it out loud. But I am 10 years older than you. And I think of you as a very young person who's been an entrepreneur for a very long time.
Mhm.
And so up until now, I mean, entrepreneurs in their younger years, 30s, is it okay to say you're in your 30s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you could write a book for entrepreneurs in their 30s. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to wait until, because it's like, if we just keep waiting until, we're not going to ever move forward. And you as a coach know that.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just going to say, it is funny to hear you put this into perspective. And I say this all the time too. This is why coaches have coaches,
Yep.
because you can't always see from, when you're too close to something, you can't see it. And so it's interesting to hear that perspective, because I say that all the time with everything else in my business. And I'm good at just throwing an offer out there. And, I launched a product in on Black Friday last year, and it wasn't completely solid and ready to go, but I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it messy. And for some reason, with the idea of doing a book, some of it is my bandwidth, right? But then
Yep.
some of it is like, oh, well, no, I feel like I need it to be a more complete story, because I hadn't even entertained or thought about the idea of being able to write multiple books.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be the whole story in chronological order from, I was born here. No, it can be a moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really beautiful too. Like I'm even thinking about this idea right now of like what it's like to be in a startup, right?
Yeah.
How do you get through that? Because you hear it all the time. This is
Yeah.
something that again, it's about perspective. You hear all the time before you started business, well, it's hard and it's you versus you. And, there's sleepless nights and all of this stuff, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all until you're actually in it, because then you realize what that actually means. And I don't know how to actually articulate what that is, but I think to be able to articulate that beyond a mindset type of framework would be really, really powerful, because that's something I'm trying to articulate to the people I know who are new to business or maybe haven't quite launched something yet. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it, but it really is a very different energy than at least what I had perceived of something. So I'm sure there's books out there on that already exist, but
But
that's a
it's
big
time to add your voice to the conversation.
yes, very good point. So this leads me to another question. How many times do you have to have this conversation with people to get them over to the fence and finally commit to writing a book?
That's a great question. I will never force somebody to write a book. It has to be something they want.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes they get in their own way. And then when I explain it, they go, okay, you're right. I'm going to do it. But there are a lot of times people are like, I just want to know. I just want to know the process. Tell me what
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's kind of hard to articulate what it's like when you pick up a book and your name is on it.
Yeah.
It's even just right now, I'm just going back and forth with one of my clients with her cover. We're like, this is what your cover is going to be. And it's like, oh my gosh, my cover of my book. So there are a lot of feelings associated with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, just thinking about holding, because the weight adds value. So being able to hold like a physical book that is your thoughts, like that is pretty incredible. And I have to imagine too, on the flip side of that, being the person who is being published, you probably have to also navigate them through another set of limiting beliefs around once it's published, what do people think? Are people going to show up to my book tour, to my launch? Is it going to sell? So what does that process look like?
So we've already worked all that out before we ever start writing.
Okay.
So we don't start writing a book unless we know what the goals are first. And we put those in place. So for my clients specifically, we are going to pitch them to podcasts, to speaking events. We're going to do media release. And we're also going to do that Amazon bestseller campaign because that helps with the algorithm on Amazon.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to publishing, they don't ask that question. What are people going to think? Because they already know.
Mm.
And they're not worried about unless they're criticizing a family member in the book.
Yeah.
That's the only time they ever go, oh, I wonder how so and so is going to feel. But I don't care. Publish.
Yeah. Just hit the button.
Hit the button.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite story about maybe somebody that you got through a publishing, or maybe just like a favorite experience that you've had since doing this?
Okay, there's one that keeps coming to mind. We are in the editing phase right now with this particular gentleman. And he's awesome. Okay, I got to start there. He is also a military veteran. He is a successful business owner. And the first thing that he said to me when we got face to face on Zoom for me to start interviewing him for the book, he's like, I feel a little imposter syndrome. And I was surprised because, first of all, you always read about women feeling imposter syndrome and not men so much, which turns out is wrong because they feel it too.
Yeah.
But it was so honest and vulnerable from somebody who isn't necessarily, you wouldn't perceive them to be vulnerable. And so that is one of my favorite stories. Another favorite story is my client. We published her a few months back, and she has said to me, this book would never have happened. She's like, she has a learning disability, which would have prevented her from ever sitting down and writing.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I never thought I would be an author. And now
That's
she's
incredible.
speaking on stages and all because of the book.
I love it. And you helped her bring that to life. And I can't even imagine how good of a feeling that must feel for her to be able to make that impact when she probably felt that her whole life she wasn't going to be able to share her message. So that's such a powerful starting point, because I assume, I'm making an assumption, I don't know who it is, but that they started, the book was the first thing, like the gateway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Gosh, that's incredible. So what made you, like, what was the moment when you decided you wanted to step away from everything else that you've been doing and just work on publishing with people?
It was a few years back, and I'd been helping authors with their marketing. And the caliber of books was getting lower and lower. And I'm looking at these books and I'm going, why? Why did these get published? They weren't ready. And on top of that, people who really desperately needed the book to be marketed would say, well, I spent all the money on publishing, so can you just help me? And I was like, I'm sorry, this is not a charity. I
Mhm.
care. I hope your message gets out there, but I still have to keep the lights on too.
Yeah.
So it was at that point that I went, you know what? I'm a published author. I can do this for others. I mean, gosh, talk about imposter syndrome. I have a freaking master's in journalism and I don't think that I can help people write a book. Like, oh my God, of course I can.
Right. Yeah.
But it didn't dawn on me until I kind of got smacked in the face by the universe going, you can do this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that you leaned into that, because it's been so fun to watch you do this in the time that I've known you, and I know you've been doing this since before you and I met. But it's been so fun. And I also want to have you talk about your most recent book, because you have two books published, right? Is it
I
two or you have
do.
more?
No, not yet.
Two.
I have another one
Okay.
that's cooking in my head.
Ooh, I
Um,
love it.
so my let's see. Oh, I have one. I can show and tell, but it's fine.
Yes.
So let me just, I don't want to knock anything over here. Okay. Here's one. I don't know where the other one is. So this one is called Make a Big Impact with Your Book, Author Marketing Strategies for Long-Term Success. And my other book is called Lasting Legal Impact, and that's specifically for attorneys who want to write a book. And I'm going to announce it right now that my next book is going to be for entrepreneurs and CEOs and how they can, make a book really work for them. It's
Oh,
just
I
not
love
written
it.
yet. It's not
That's
written yet,
needed.
but it will be.
Yes. Yay. Amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks.
So tell us a little bit about the new book that just came out.
Oh, sure. So Lasting Legal Impact, it is for attorneys who really want to stand out from the rest of the sea of attorneys
Mm-hmm.
in the country. There are 1.3 million attorneys in the United States alone, and they all market exactly the same way. They use billboards if they're a personal injury attorney. See, any city you go into, you can name the people because you
Yep.
see their
Got a few in
billboards.
my head locally right now.
I know you probably have a jingle going on right now, but we're not going to sing it because they
Nope.
didn't sponsor this podcast.
Right. Not free
They
marketing.
should, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so there's SEO, which doesn't always work for attorneys. There's paying for Google Ads, which can work, but it's sort of a crapshoot. So for those who really want to stand out from the crowd, I recommend writing a book and marketing it, because then they can give the book out to potential clients. And once the client is holding the book in their hand, it's a done deal.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is something that I've been in a conversation with a couple times over like the last month or so, when it comes to publishing, not books in particular, but articles, because that's something that is fairly easy to get into. It's kind of like low hanging fruit if you're an entrepreneur, regardless of what you're in.
Yep.
And I think, when you're a newer entrepreneur, you think like, oh, this is so exciting. I'm going to be published. And then people are going to be out like lining up out the doors because of my credibility in this one little article. And I think we were actually all having this conversation a couple of weeks ago on how it doesn't necessarily have that kind of impact versus a book would. So that would be something too. If you are really wanting to get your work out there and to get what you do in front of people in a really credible way, that a book, even if it's a short book, would be something that would be more impactful than doing this rat race of what articles can I get featured in, and $500 for a feature here, $1,000 for a full page spread here.
It's true. And there are going to be a lot of people that will like to sell you those feature spreads.
Yeah.
Best one ever was one I got 2 days ago, where somebody unsolicited asked me, would you like me, to write an article? I said, I responded, sure, tell me more. And then I looked through and I'm like, you know what? I don't, it's just another one of those things. And so I responded, I'm okay. I'm okay for now. And I responded, and the response was, you're very welcome. All caps, see you next Tuesday, !
Oh my gosh.
I burst out laughing. That's the life of an entrepreneur, guys.
Yeah, it is. Wow. What a response though. I never would have thought somebody would have said that, but why would you ever want to work with them in the future?
Well, the bridge is burned, right? But it didn't hurt me. It didn't, anything, but it just sort of, I wanted to give this woman grace because clearly she's going through it.
Yeah, it's
but
definitely her problem.
But also it just underscores what we're talking about is these once and done articles. I mean, they're trying to feed their beast of get more and more and more and more. But a book has longevity. A book, I wrote this book. I wrote this guy 3 years ago. It still sells. It's still relevant. In 10 years from now, it'll still be relevant. Whereas your article is just as good as what it was published in. And is it even still online, or have they taken it down?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and even with I paid for one probably a year and a half ago.
I mean, I've done it too. Like,
to be like published in an actual magazine, right? Which is, you know what, for novelty purposes, it's great because I have the copy. It's beautiful. It's like this fancy matte black, looks very expensive, but it was a very small piece that really doesn't talk about my business. And the only people who see it are people who are members of that group. It wasn't on stands. It wasn't sold anywhere. And so this is kind of a slightly little different segue here, but you learn to pick your battles with those, I guess. And it's like, is it good to have? Sure. Like, I love that I have a copy of that book because it's beautiful. And I can say I was published in that, but it also didn't bring me leads, versus I'm sure that if I published a book tomorrow, the book would bring me revenue. It would establish my credibility, and it would bring me in leads because of the weight that an actual book holds.
Right. And the marketing campaign that you attach to the book.
Yes. Which is what you're so very good at.
Thanks. And yes, I mean, this book, I remember once somebody got on my calendar and she's like, my friend sent me your book. I'd like to hire you. Great.
Perfect. We love a good hot lead in our inbox, right?
Amazing. Yep.
That's awesome. So I want to have you, I know if you can. I think you can.
I may be able to.
If you can't, let me know and I'll just cut this piece out. But I know you just recently went to like a really fancy party in LA.
Yeah,
which I would love to have you share about, because it ties into what you do. It ties into your background of experience, but it's also just like a fun little peek behind the celebrity curtain that you got to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to go to Elton John's Oscar viewing party, and it was really amazing. And they raised, I think it was more than $10 million for AIDS research just that night.
That's incredible.
There were auctions, there were, and the ticket sales and just donations. It was really fantastic. And it was really a great energy in the room. And speaking of cool entrepreneurs, I met Damon John.
So cool. And you got a photo too, didn't you?
I did get a photo with him. Yes, I bothered him and asked him if he would mind taking a photo. I was like, sir, would you be open to taking a photo with me? Because I don't ever want to bother people.
Same.
Yeah. But it was really fun because, you know, we don't take enough time for fun as entrepreneurs.
True.
I wake up at 3:45 in the morning sometimes and I'm like, oh, I need to do this and this and this and this. And instead of going back to sleep, I get up and start working.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to go to an office and work for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And you can also, if you allow time for fun, which we all should do,
We should.
You could also leave at 12 if you wanted to, and nobody would say anything.
You would say it to yourself, though.
True. Because we're built a little bit different as entrepreneurs, right? Like there has to be something productive that's happening at all stages of the day.
Absolutely. All the time. Even if it's dishes, even if it's laundry, it's got to be productive.
Yes, 100%. I'm always multitasking as a manifesting generator. That's what I want to be doing all the time. Just 8 tasks all at once, multiple tabs, multiple projects, and I thrive that way. But that is something that I have learned in the process, is to find ways to make things fun. And also, one of my big soapboxes is movement too, of course, like taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
That's
right. You could write a book about that too. I totally forgot.
Yeah. So at some point, I guess we'll have to just create a whole series, series of books.
The series of Vanessa Cavalish.
Yeah.
All the many facets, all the hats, all the things.
Yeah. Yep. An MG Diary series. I love it. So if there's anybody listening who has maybe been thinking about a book and they haven't started it yet, and they're like, maybe I should, maybe I don't have anything, important to say. Maybe they have a manuscript that they've started that is just kind of sitting there. What would you tell that person?
Keep going. The world deserves to hear what you have to say. And if you've started it or you have an idea for it, it means that the universe is telling you, you need to let this be shared. You need to disseminate this information. So keep going. And if you need guidance, there are people like me, there are people like me all over who would be very happy to guide you in the process.
Yeah, I love that. And anybody who is thinking about this too, I hope already has some proof of that it's the universe nagging you into something. Because if you have a story you want to share with the world, it's probably because that was something that was placed in front of you and you were prodded to start in the first place. So I really love that word choice and that particular advice.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you and they do want to bring you on and get things kicked off, how can they do that?
Well, you can go to my website and click on book a call. My website's yourbigimpactbook.com.
Perfect. And we will make sure that is all linked in the show notes. You guys can also connect with her on social media if you are social media people. So I'll make sure that that's put there too. But definitely head to her website. You can see lots of the books that she's already been a part of, and absolutely book a call with her because she is crushing it out there and making people's big dreams happen for real.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been such a treat to have you on, and I cannot wait to share this conversation with everybody.
Yay, me too.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Rebel Rise podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and invite your friends to join us next week. This is your time. Now get out there and rise.